welcome to our evening FEBE. And I'm actually just going to turn things over to Lauren Smith from ECDI as she's going to be our moderator.
Hello, officially I'm Lauren Smith. ECDI, just really quickly, is a nonprofit. We offer coaching, training, and lending to small businesses and startups. So displayed for your enjoyment are two of our lovely panelists, two of three. Hopefully the third is well on her way, but otherwise they'll have a lot to share, I think. So before we get started, I wanted to provide a little background on the subject matter for tonight, which is women operating in male-dominated industries. We're going to hear from these women as they take us on their journey as female entrepreneurs in the industries of dry cleaning and funeral services. Anyone who knows a female entrepreneur knows that they are a true force of nature who hold themselves to extraordinarily high standards in everything that they do. And trailblazers like the women before you are changing the entrepreneurial ecosystem in our country. Today, women business owners are the fastest growing segment of the economy, and more than 25% of US companies are either led or owned by women. It doesn't sound like quite nearly enough, but believe it or not, the US is the #1 country for female entrepreneurship, ahead of Australia and the UK, respectively. In Northeast Ohio alone, there is an unprecedented surge of female small business owners. In the last 18 months alone, I've personally worked with 184 female business owners. This comprised 52% of my personal clientele at ECDI, and again, I'm only one person, one consultant with one company, so it's just a snapshot of what we're headed for. Cleveland is forming a support network for female entrepreneurs with resources like the Women's Business Center in downtown, Bad Girl Ventures to enhance women's access to startup capital, the Cleveland chapter of the National Association of Women Business Owners, two former presidents in the back of the room back there, and multiple women-centric business publications, including Phenomenal Woman magazine and Cleveland Business Connects magazine. We are entering a golden age of female entrepreneurship. So if you came to see the face of the future small business landscape, you're in the right place. I asked each of these women for a nugget of wisdom, so this is free advice, actually. So on the left, we have Lisa Sebastian of Ridge Cleaners, an original quote, "Never be afraid to follow what fills your soul and graciously share your gifts and your journey with others." And on the right, we have Pam Reber-Jones of Dovin and Reber-Jones Funeral Home. Her favorite quote is, "Risk more than others think is safe, care more than others think is wise, dream more than others think is practical, and expect more than others think is possible." I'm going to give our two panelists a couple minutes to introduce themselves, and then we will dive into the panel conversation. Lisa?
Thank you, Lauren, for the introduction. Very grateful to be here tonight, and I also want to say thank you to Lee Colson, who's a longtime customer of Ridge Cleaners and who made the initial invite for this evening. As Lauren mentioned, my name is Lisa Sebastian. I am a second-generation business owner of Ridge Cleaners. We do dry cleaning in the Cleveland area, and I'm really looking forward to tonight and sharing a bit of my story. So thank you all for being here.
And I'm Pam Reber-Jones, and I also thank Lee for being here this evening. Excited to share my story with all of you.
Wonderful, welcome. So I have a lineup of questions, and we'll get to what we get to, and then I'm gonna open it up to the audience because I'm sure you all have interesting and probing questions for our panelists tonight. So we'll start with Lisa. The obvious question is, why this business and why this industry? What brought you to this point?
Well, it is a family business, and I had worked growing up in and out of the business. My parents purchased the business 29 years ago, and so I have been a part of it throughout growing up, like all family business. We did our part. I have two brothers who were involved as well through the years. And I went on to studies at Ohio State University as a communication major and thought that my journey would lead me to television, which one wouldn't think because I'm very nervous right now. At any rate, gratefully that did not work out. At any rate, I was working for the city of Avon Lake as a recreation director about the time that my parents decided they wanted to start discussing succession planning and looking towards retirement. And I came to this business of dry cleaning because I had a passion passion to continue the legacy that my parents started. So it could have been essentially any business that my parents started, but it was their legacy and all of the hard work and the effort that they put into raising our family and all that I watched them do through small business that made me want to be a small business owner in dry cleaning.
Beautiful. Same question, Pam. Why this industry?
I just always wanted to be a funeral director. From when I was in high school, it was just a field that I was fascinated with. I just felt that it was my calling. So I went on to go to mortuary school, worked for a funeral home for 20 years. While I was working there, I always had that desire to own my own funeral home, thought it was impossible, and found out it was not impossible. So 7 years ago, I opened up Dovin and Reber-Jones Funeral Home in Amherst. I do have a business partner who had an existing business in the city of Lorain, so I do have a partner. But basically, it's me.
Awesome. Thank you. So, Lisa, what unique challenges do you face as a female entrepreneur, if any, and what are the unique advantages to being a female entrepreneur?
Well, my experiences as being a female entrepreneur is really a bit of sort of self-study that really wouldn't matter whether being female or male, in that I believe in showing up authentically no matter what the audience or who the group is. So predominantly in the dry cleaning industry, I find myself in the company of 90% males, but I show up the same and with authenticity, and that, I guess, would be my feeling on being a female entrepreneur. I don't see any advantage or disadvantage. I think it's always advantageous to just be yourself.
Pam, same question.
And I agree with that. For me, a little bit different, because when I was in mortuary school, I was only one of 8 females and 250 gentlemen. So I definitely was outnumbered. And I also was one of the few females who did not come from a funeral home background. My parents weren't in it. So I had a lot of hills to climb to prove that that's something I could do and wanted to do. In the business today, actually right now in the mortuary schools, there are actually more females that are attending mortuary school than males. So it's been a big turnaround in the past 20 years, which is very exciting to me. I'm very happy about that. But my colleagues are still generally all male, so when I go to meetings and conventions, I'm pretty much dominated by the male. So it's just a matter of, it's a profession where it doesn't matter if you're a male or female. I actually think that having male on the staff and female, we complement each other, because what the female may have a more compassion or understanding, maybe the male can buffer that a little bit. So I think it's a profession that women and men equally should be in.
So you mentioned a lot of hills to climb. What has been your greatest challenge?
Originally, when I was in mortuary school, just the fact that most of the students there felt that if you're a girl there, you were just looking for your, what they used to call your MRS degree, which was not true. And a lot of the gentlemen there being like, oh, this girl's going to pass out as soon as she gets into the prep room, which it was generally the males. It was none of the females that passed out. So that was a big, transition. And then looking for a job. When I was in mortuary school and looking to do an apprenticeship, there were just so many funeral home owners that were predominantly, well, they all were male, said, no, you can't lift. Can you cut grass? Can you blow the leaves? Can you go out there and snow shovel on a morning of a funeral? So that was a big hill. I mean, just to show, like, yes, I can work 80-hour weeks. I can shovel snow. I can cut grass. I can lift. So that was hard. I got a lot of rejections sending out applications for my apprenticeship. So found a funeral home that was actually wanted a female and stayed there for 20 years prior to opening up my own business. I was very fortunate when I found a place.
Wonderful. Thank you. The next question, Lisa, What has been your most significant accomplishment or rewarding experience so far?
I would say the most significant rewarding experience has been being able to work in a family business with my family to transition the generation of work ethic and the generation of what they stand for, not only as a family, but what we stand for and how we treat our customers and what part we want to play in our little small piece of what we're giving back. So I think that would probably be the biggest piece. I've learned more about giving in this business than I thought I would ever learn in dry cleaning.
So you said that you're carrying on a legacy of your parents. Is this your legacy?
Well, I think it's their legacy that they began and that I'm doing my part because it's what I choose to do, to continue what has been so great for me and has been so rewarding. I have a daughter who's 14. I don't know that she'll be interested in the business, but in fact, if she is, it'll then be her piece to add her element and what is special about her to what has already been started. So we're just grateful to be able to provide a service in the area here. And I've learned so much about myself, about my family, and about other families in small business that it really is quite a blessing.
Awesome. Pam, same question.
I would say the fact that every year my business is growing. So that's definitely a little bit of breathing room. So every day I wake up, it's like, okay, I'm still here. And I think the second thing is actually my son just did a report in school, and he actually did it on me. And that just made me feel so good. He was so proud of me. He was proud of the work that I do. He was proud of the hours that I put in. I am away from home a whole lot. I work 7 days a week. So I miss a lot of activities for my boys. And the fact that he wrote that paper and the respect that he had for me, I think that made my life. That it really, I just thought, well, he gets it, he understands. And hopefully I'm teaching him what it takes to be a hard worker and live your dream, right?
So I was going to ask you anyways, Pam, how do you define success as an entrepreneur? Is it living your dream or is it something else?
A little bit of living my dream, yes. But I think every day I'm dealing with people at the worst possible time in their life. And if they leave and then they come back to pick up thank you cards or something and they say that I made it easier for them and that they couldn't have gotten through it, without the guidance, that makes it so worthwhile. That's what I'm there for. I want them to know that they don't have to worry about things. They can grieve. I will take care of the details. I will make it as easy for them as I can and hopefully make a difference in their life. So.
Thank you. Lisa, how do you define success as an entrepreneur?
I would say success is living your passion, extending that to the others that you serve, and making a difference by your service.
Clean and simple. Thank you. So, Pam, you mentioned that you work long hours and long days. I'd imagine you both do. Something that isn't mentioned a lot is work-life balance. I have a friend who recently started a business, and she said, no one ever warned me that I would never see my kids, and I wouldn't see my friends, and I wouldn't get to do my hobbies anymore. So talk a little bit about your work-life balance.
It's difficult. I have two boys. I have a 15-year-old and I have a 13-year-old, so neither of them drive yet. I have a husband that travels, so he travels every week. So I am kind of a solo mom during the week. trying to get kids to school, trying to get them to their activities, on top of literally working 7 days a week. And my days start at 7:30 in the morning, and sometimes I don't get home until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. So it's very difficult, and it's heartbreaking to me sometimes because I feel like, am I doing my boys a disservice because I'm not home every day? Or, gosh, those dishes are in the sink for 2 days? Or, Mom, did you not wash my uniform? It's really hard. It's hard to find that balance. I do the best I can. I try every day when I wake up. Like, hopefully I'm not letting anybody down. The families I serve, my husband, my boys, my friends, because I don't get to see them that often. But it's all worth it in the long run, I think. You know, when you get that note from your son, and that's worth it.
Thank you. Lisa, what is your work-life balance?
Well, early on, I made it a priority. I am a single mom. I'm widowed, so I made it a point when I decided that I would take over the business that my daughter was going to be equal, if not far greater than the business. My parents worked a lot of hours. They missed a lot of our growing up. They also made it to quite a bit as well. But I made a vow to myself that I wouldn't take over the business if my daughter didn't feel like she came before the business. And I've stuck to that. And it's been very difficult because there are times that I should be there, but I have made a vow that if I can't do it with putting her first, then I will figure that out and allow someone else to come in. But it's worked out quite well, actually, because I also mentioned that to all of the people that work with our company. And they understood from the beginning that that is the way I was approaching the business. And they are so empowered and so valuable that they have been amazing. And in turn, I try and provide the same for them. When they need time off for their family, when they have things come up, I wouldn't not allow it for them because I've said that's the way, it's the foundation of the way our business runs. So we do our best. It is not that easy as I explain it. It sounds wonderful, but I will say that it absolutely can work because I set my heart on it, and that's the way it's moving in that direction. So that's what I've done.
Thank you both for opening up about that. So like I mentioned, my friend was surprised by the challenges of entrepreneurship. What has surprised you about entrepreneurship? Pam?
I would say the business aspect of it, in terms of the funeral service and conducting funerals, and my job as an embalmer, that's the easy part for me because that's what I know. But the actual business part, the day-to-day operations of running a business, paying taxes and knowing business laws and knowing banking and where do you invest and where do you do this, that was overwhelming to me in the beginning. You know, you have these great intentions when you start this business and you think, oh, I can do this, and you all can, but that part to me was, wow. I didn't study business. I studied to be a funeral director, not to own a business. So that to me was the biggest challenge. So 7 years into it now, I'm getting it.
Thank you. Lisa, what has surprised you about entrepreneurship?
Well, my answer would be very similar to Pam's in that the business aspect. I was a communication major. I was going to be on ESPN sidelines or something, so I really wasn't studying business. So that part has been difficult to really understand and to learn and to feel that I'm doing justice for the company. But what I found is that it's important to surround yourself with great business people, and there are so many out there that are willing to help. So I've relied on mentors. I really have for the business aspect, and that's been really a help.
Great, thank you so much. So Imagine tonight you are given a time machine to go back to the day you decided to take this risk and jump feet first into entrepreneurship, which is sometimes the hardest part. What would you do differently looking back if you could change something? Lisa.
I suppose I'd ask my brothers more seriously if they were interested. No, no, I'm just kidding. I really don't know. I really don't have an answer for that, in that I'm really proud of the journey and happy with where it's gone. There isn't anything that pops in my mind right now to say what I would have done differently. Maybe ask for mentorship earlier. I did think I was going to do it on my own for a bit there, which was probably the worst thought that one could have.
Pam, what would you do with your time machine?
I agree with you. There's nothing that I can think of that I would have done differently or wish I would have done differently. When you had talked about surrounding yourself with people who know, and that's what I did. It's like, never be afraid or too proud to ask for help or guidance, because everybody has an area of expertise, and I utilized that, and thank God I did. So.
Thank you. So it's safe to say you're both successful. What has been the key to success in your industry and in your business? Pam.
I would say the service that we provide. I feel that we go above and beyond for every family that we serve. We treat them like it was somebody in our family that passed away. And I think by doing that, that has proven to be successful. If you treat people the way you would want to be treated, then you're going to be successful. So I would say that would be the key to our success.
Thank you. Lisa, what is the key to your success?
Well, I agree with the golden rule and doing any business. I would say for dry cleaning, it has been staying in touch with what's going on in the world and what the needs are of the clients that we serve by way of any technological advances, obviously eco-friendly cleaning and green cleaning, and staying up to date and up to speed on how we can best serve whatever the needs may be. We offer pickup and delivery at home, so for now it's been time saving and obviously being good stewards of the environment, and always just staying abreast on what's coming next.
Thank you. So there's a lot of hype around the concept of saying yes. There's movies and there's books about it, of saying yes to every single opportunity. For you, is this a good way to do business, and why or why not? Pam.
I would say yes. Actually.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. I think by saying yes, you're showing people that you're there for them. You're going to be accommodating. You know, I think so many times people say, no, I'll have some people ask me if they can do something different for a service, and I'll say, as long as it's legal, I'll do it. I think you need to adapt yourself. You can't be closed mind. I think a lot of people get stale, and they think, oh, no, it's just perfect the way I do it. Sometimes people can ask you something and you say yes, and you've just expanded, your knowledge on something. You've expanded your business. So I think, yes, I think it's important to say yes.
Yes to yes.
Yes to yes.
Lisa, are you a yes woman?
I am sometimes, but I would also say that I think in business you can't be everything to everyone, and you have to know what you stand for and what you do and what your business was founded on and what you're good at, because you can get caught up sometimes in a little bit of a desperation of wanting to be all things for all people. And so in times when we feel that way in business, we stick with our vision and our mission and what our foundation is, and we educate ourselves on other business that other businesses that do things that maybe we don't, and we pass that along as well. So I think staying true to the core, saying yes at times, but always having that core value system that you don't steer from with a yes of desperation.
Okay. So you're suggesting that staying true to your core values is really important. If you could give advice to a woman considering entering a male-dominated industry, is that what it would be, or what would it be?
Exactly. It would be to stay true to who you are, whether it's a male-dominated or a female-dominated environment is irrelevant, really, because you're going to present yourself and you're going to bring your passion and bring what you offer and bring the reason why you're here with you everywhere you go, and that would be in whatever environment, whatever field. And if it's a more difficult road because you're the only female, then you will just have so much more to learn, and how advantageous is that? So I really think the opportunities are endless if you bring authenticity anywhere you go.
Thank you. Pam, what advice would you give to a woman entering a male-dominated industry?
I would say, first of all, don't be afraid. Go for it. If it's your dream, go for it. There's no reason why a female can't do anything that a male can do. No offense, males. I don't mean it that way. Okay, I'm just looking at the crowd. So I would say, follow your dream and follow it to the fullest. Live your passion, live your dream. And that goes for any male that wants to start a business also. If they want to start a business that's, more female dominated, go for it. You can do it. Follow that dream.
You're both very inspiring. If you could write a book about your journey as entrepreneurs, in your business, in your industry, what would that book be called and why?
I think my book would be called The Game of Life. And I think the reason is because it would relate to, how my journey has been. Like a game, any event, any sporting event, there are ups and downs, and perhaps tonight, shortly, for the Cavs game, there will be a great up event happening. But I would say The Game of Life would be the title of the book.
Great, thank you. Pam?
I would say The Journey, because I just feel like it's just been a journey.
Before I give this over to the audience, did either of you have any finishing remarks about being women in male-dominated industries, being entrepreneurs in general, taking the plunge?
I guess I would just say it's a commitment, and like any entry into anything else in your life, it is a commitment not to be made lightly, and also to be open to change. I decided this is what I wanted to do as an entrepreneur, but I've always left it open-ended. Every day I decide again if this is, I see what the day brings, and if there's ever a day where I'm not passionate and I'm pulled in a different direction, then maybe I'm not the dry cleaning entrepreneur and I move in another. So it's open-ended. It's a commitment every single day, and it's open-ended. As long as you know you can serve with full passion, you continue on.
I would definitely agree about the commitment. Kind of know what you're getting yourself into. It all sounds good, like, oh yeah, I can own a business, but just make sure that that's really what you want, because once you commit to it and you financially commit to it, which is huge, make sure that you're going to follow through with it. And things happen and businesses fail, but if you go into it with the attitude of knowing what you have to put into it, just understand what you're getting yourself into.
Speaking of understanding what you're getting yourselves into, so why entrepreneurship? Instead of working at a dry cleaner or working at a funeral home, continuing to do that, why is entrepreneurship right for you each? Pam?
For me, it was just that it was such a passion of mine. I just absolutely love, love, love what I do. And after working for someone for 20 years, I thought, you know what, I can do this, and maybe I can bring a different aspect to it. So for me, it was the passion that I had for my career, and the passion that I wanted to bring that I could offer to families that I served, something different.
Thank you. Lisa?
Well, for me, it came from the second generation taking over the business, but it was just the opportunity to be in a leadership position, and I was interested in that. I was interested in learning more about business, learning more about closely held family business in particular, and so that was the part, really, the leadership interest.
Good, thank you. And your brothers are not involved in the business at all?
They are not. They are entrepreneurs that run other businesses, and they're very happy with what they do, so it all worked out quite well.
Thank you. All right, we're ready to open up to audience questions. Sir?
When you, excuse me, were going into the business and thinking about it, did you think of it as, I'm going into a male-dominated business and how am I going to survive in that? Or was it more, I'm going into a business, how do I survive in it? Follow what I'm saying?
I did not think at all I'm going into a male-dominated business. It didn't really register. I just knew I was going into business.
And I agree, that didn't even cross my mind when I started the business.
Thank you so much again to our panelists and to Lorain, and thank you for attending. Thanks.